I think you should prepare for the next Bitcoin crash. And in this video, I want to explain to you what exactly I mean by this. Let's get started. I want to start off with saying that I think Bitcoin is going to millions of dollars. I think it's going to billions of dollars. There is no ceiling for Bitcoin's price over the long term in terms of US dollars or in terms of any fiat currency. But in the short term, Bitcoin could easily fall. You have to prepare for this. You have to mentally prepare for this. You don't have to do anything by selling your Bitcoin. You have to sell your Bitcoin right now. You don't have to do anything like that. And that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you have to mentally prepare because when Bitcoin's price goes up, people become overconfident. They start thinking that they can predict the future. They start thinking that they can take on leverage and they can borrow as much money as possible to buy more Bitcoin because they know that if they take a leverage position on, then they'll get bigger returns as the price goes higher. You don't need to do that. Just stack Bitcoin over time because if you're taking on leverage, if you're making crazy decisions just because you're overconfident, then you're going to lose everything. When we look at Bitcoin's price over the long term, we can see that the price goes up, then it comes down. Then the price goes up, then it comes down. Then the price goes up, and eventually it does come down. So we can't say that Bitcoin is going to go straight up because it won't. I don't think that's possible. I don't think it will. The reason for that is that healthy growth requires pullbacks in any asset. At some point, there's going to be some catalyst in the market. There's going to be something that happens. Maybe some company fails. Maybe interest rates go back up again. Right now, interest rates are high. Interest rates have to come down. Then they'll go back up again. I don't know when that'll happen, but at some point, if it does, you know that the price will come down 50, 60, 70%. Now, it's possible that this never happens again. So I wouldn't say that you should sell your Bitcoin. What I would say, though, is don't over leverage. Don't borrow too much money against your Bitcoin because if Bitcoin's price falls 50% and you have a 50% loan to value on your loan, whatever money you borrow against your Bitcoin, you're going to be liquidated. The amount of money that you have owed on that loan is going to be worth exactly the same as the amount of Bitcoin that you have. So your lender will have liquidated your position. They would have gotten rid of your Bitcoin. So let's say, for example, if you have an entire stack that you accumulated from, let's say, 2021 all the way till some point in 2026, and then Bitcoin's price crashes and you borrow way too much money against that stack, all of your work, all of the money that you accumulated, all the way down from the 2021 top to the bottom in 2022, all the way till the top, wherever that is. I don't know where that's going to be. Let's say it's at 500K and you've borrowed 250K against your Bitcoin. That could be a massive problem because whatever work you did in this whole period, this entire period, it's going to be gone if you get liquidated. One thing that people have done over the last couple of years is they gambled with the second to 100th place coins in terms of market cap. So anything other than Bitcoin. And their returns suffered massively. There are people out there who are not going to let this go. They're going to extract as much wealth from new people into crypto as possible. So if you're new to crypto, make sure you avoid all the altcoins, all the meme coins, all the random garbage that's going to come out over the next few months. There's probably going to be a lot more Bitcoin treasury companies that are not serious. There's going to be a lot more companies that have debt that's not structured the right way. So they will go bankrupt if Bitcoin's price comes down. If you've borrowed against your Bitcoin, maybe at some point, pay that debt off before Bitcoin's price crashes. I don't know when or if Bitcoin's price is going to crash, but if you want to follow proper risk management procedures, make sure that you have enough collateral so that if Bitcoin's price does fall and you have a loan against your Bitcoin, you can add more collateral to make sure that your Bitcoin does not get liquidated. Also, make sure that you have an emergency fund in fiat currency in case Bitcoin crashes at the same time that maybe you lose your job or you lose your stream of income. The worst scenario that you can get into now is you've studied Bitcoin for such a long time, you've accumulated over the last few years, and you borrowed money against it. And at some point, Bitcoin's price starts falling, you lose everything. You don't have the money to recollateralize your loan, and you're done. All of the work that you put in over the last few years is gone. Don't let this happen to you. You have to remember that all of these coins, other than Bitcoin, are going to lose a massive amount of wealth compared to Bitcoin if Bitcoin were to fall. So if Bitcoin were to fall 50%, maybe these other coins are going to fall 90%. If Bitcoin falls 70%, these other coins are going to fall 99%. And there's no way that they're going to recover. All of these altcoins use Bitcoin's momentum to sell their coins into the market. They market them to you. They sell them to you. They advertise them basically to you as much as they can while Bitcoin's price is going up. You feel like you missed out. You buy these altcoins and they use you as exit liquidity. They sell their coins that they created out of nothing to you. So make sure you don't get distracted. Don't think about all of these other ways to earn money, all these other ways to increase your Bitcoin stack, all these ways to double your Bitcoin. I've gotten a lot of comments from people saying that they're going to buy altcoins. This was about a year ago. They're going to buy altcoins and they're going to double their Bitcoin stack. And that hasn't happened. It hasn't worked out for the majority of altcoin holders. The chances of you finding the right altcoin that's going to double your stack is nearly zero. If you just go through the next few years, stacking Bitcoin, building your skills, creating more value, just buying as much Bitcoin as you can, you're going to do much better than all the people who are spending all their time and their money and their energy on buying altcoins and trying to play this player versus player game where it's a zero sum game. No matter what, somebody has to lose. With Bitcoin, the people who own Bitcoin will always win. When you buy Bitcoin, make sure you have a 4-year time horizon. Make sure you don't sell for 4 more years. If you hold for 4 more years, chances are that you're going to do very well. And I like to refer to this chart from time to time. We can see the day-to-day movements of Bitcoin are very volatile. We can see if the price goes up, comes down, price goes up, comes down. In the short term, Bitcoin's price could fall 70% within a year. But over the long term, we can see the line at the bottom there, that gold line, that shows you that over the long term, this is the 4-year moving average. That shows you in the last 4 years, Bitcoin's price has only gone up at any period of time. So this is a rolling 4-year moving average. So at any period of time, Bitcoin's price only went up over the long term. So your goal here should be to hold for at least 4 years. If you can hold for 4 years, I think you're going to do very well. One question that I get is if you're saving for your kids, then what should you do? Should you trade in, trade out? If your kid is a few months old, a year old, 2 years old, start buying Bitcoin for them today. The best thing that you can do is accumulate so that when they're 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, they have this stack that they can borrow US dollars against. And let me give you an example for this. So if you were to invest $100 per month for the next 18 years and the growth rate on that Bitcoin that you're buying is 30% per year, you would have invested a total of $21,600 over the next 18 years. But the Bitcoin that you bought for your kid would be worth $579,568. If that return were to drop to, let's say, 25%, that Bitcoin that you bought for your kid over the next 18 years will still be worth $327,000. Again, you would have only put $21,600 in, so your investment would only be 6.6% of the total amount of money that you'd be giving to your kid. If you were to do the same thing with the stock market, instead of a 25% return, you're going to get a 10% return. You would have invested $21,600 for your kid for the next 18 years, and it would be worth $60,190. So with Bitcoin at a 30% return, it'd be worth $579,000. With the stock market at a 10% return, it'd be worth $60,190. Whether you're saving Bitcoin for your kids or yourself, you still have to go through all of this volatility. You have to see the price go up, then come down, then go up, and come down. It's impossible to time the market. If you're going to try to time the market, you're going to lose. So just buy Bitcoin, ride the waves up, ride the waves down. Over time, the numbers will just go higher and higher. The 4-year moving average will move up. So you're going to see higher highs and higher lows in Bitcoin's price. If at some point Bitcoin's price does drop 70% from here, you're going to see something like $35,000. I don't think that's going to happen. But if it does, make sure that $35,000 doesn't make you sell. I think a more realistic scenario would be something like Bitcoin's price goes to something like $300, $400, $500,000, and then it drops back down to $125,000. A lot of people are going to think that at 500,000, it's going to a million. So they're going to buy, they're going to use up all of their extra cash. They're going to use up all of their leverage. And then when it comes back down to 125,000, they're going to panic sell and they'll be left with nothing. They'll actually be left with losses. Then the bull run is going to start. So we can see here, the price is going to go up here. Then it's going to come back down here. Then it's going to go even higher. It's going to go to a million. Then it's going to come back down. And eventually, through all of those volatile moments, it'll reach $10 million. It'll reach $100 million. It'll go so much higher than where it is today that these numbers here are just going to look like a blip. They're not even going to be relevant to people who are thinking of buying Bitcoin 10, 20, 30 years from now. So just buy Bitcoin, study Bitcoin, and hang tight. Expect to be wrong for the next 4 years because Bitcoin's price moves in 4-year cycles. If you can survive one 4-year cycle, the next 4-year cycle is going to be so much easier for you to get through.